1. You are live, you are live.
Good afternoon and Merry Christmas to everybody throughout the world, wherever you happen to be. It's a pleasure to be with you here today, talking to you from the magnificence of the Greater Kruger National Park, where we're sitting on the western fringes on Djuma. We're at Djuma Dam at the moment, and to the west of us, Arathusa, where we also traverse. My name is James Henry. On camera, we have got Andrew Francis. Hello, Andrew. Andrew is branded to the max with a Nat Geo Wild branding, our wonderful sponsors. It's lovely to have them on board too, especially at Christmas time. And you are on a live safari. If you happen to be at home this Christmas and trolling through the internet, it's wonderful to know that you are with us on a live safari. So please talk to us, hashtag SafariLIVE if you're tweeting like that. What was it that just flew over? It was a greater blue-eared glossy starling. It went where? If you're tweeting like that greater blue-eared glossy starling, please talk to us on Twitter. Otherwise, questions at wildearth.tv if you want to talk to us on the email. Our plan this afternoon, there were no kind of big cat sightings this morning, so we're going to drive around, see if we can find any sign of some lions. Perhaps those wild dogs that were knocking about Simbambili to the west of us have come this way. We'll go and have a look around there and see what happens. Otherwise, it's a little journey of discovery through the bush on this wonderful Christmas day. Welcome to it. It's great to have you along. Brent Leo Smith will be with you shortly. He's being filmed by Tebbs, and on her own, manning the skeletal crew in the final control, is Louise Pavitt. Over there, some Christmas buffaloes. And it's been a wonderfully cool day. Yesterday it probably hit 40 degrees Celsius, 103 degrees Fahrenheit, and today it's a very mild 30 degrees, and I think that's about 87 degrees Fahrenheit. So very pleasant indeed. There's a gentle breeze blowing in from the southeast. There were some thunderstorms predicted, and there's certainly some clouds off to the west, but whether those will materialize in rain or not, I'm not so sure. Certainly many of the clouds have been building up in the west during the afternoons and haven't been creating much in the way of any moisture for the parched landscape. And over there, Andrew, before you come back to my face, my ugly mug, there are some kudu. 3 kudu cows, and everything just has a real sense of peace about it this morning, at least this afternoon, morning depending on where you are, I suppose. And we've come to this area not only because of the buffalo and those kudu, but because this is where Karula was knocking about yesterday. We didn't find her tracks this morning, which says to me that she's probably around here somewhere. And because of the number of prey that there are around at the moment, we've got baby impala everywhere, and that, of course, is the favored food of a leopard. I wonder if she isn't, she certainly looked to be hunting last night, and I wonder if she hasn't got one stashed away in a tree somewhere close by. So that's why we're in this particular area at the moment. Clown Sharon, you say that as we look at these buffalo, it's a buffalo Christmas pool party. That's exactly what it is. And I tell you, it was something to behold yesterday. You know, we watched Karula around here for about 2 hours, which is a wonderful privilege. And I thought maybe she was trying to sort of sneak up to the water, and hopefully she was going to catch something that came down to the water. I think that was one of her intentions. But certainly she then went down to the water to drink once the buffalo had cleared off. And these buffalo defecate and urinate in that water to the extent that it eventually turns into a totally anaerobic kind of eutrophic mass of algae, and I mean it really is quite a sort of primordial soup, if you like. And she just drank it up, no problem. It's not the kind of water you would ever drink even in your most desperate time. Anyway, so that's the plan for the day, and I'm just going to give you a little bit more sense of the atmosphere around us. You can hear the woodland kingfishers going. There's a gentle breeze blowing, like I say, from the southeast. In fact, it's kind of swirling, the breeze. But otherwise, like I say, everything is just completely at peace. Smart redhead, you say, wouldn't Christmas buffalo be wearing Christmas hats? Well, if they were delivering presents and gifts, I suppose they would, but perhaps these chaps are just a bit old and cantankerous to be part of the Christmas spirit. Let's head across to Brent Leo Smith. He is mobile. I'm not sure what his plan is for the afternoon, but he'll tell you all about that. We'll carry on looking for various tracks, and we'll see you shortly.
So, unfortunately, our perfectly planned Sunset Safari Christmas opening failed dismally. The wildebeest are disappearing into the thickest, nastiest stuff. I am blinded by the fact that my Christmas hat does not have a peak. And there they are, hiding amongst the round leaf teak thickets. But this is Christmas Day. My name is Brent Leo Smith. I have the very brightly dressed Tebs on the back of the vehicle. And a very Merry Christmas to everyone. And we've had a wonderful day next to the swimming pool. And we have tried to keep with the Christmas spirit, but I'm afraid with the beating African sun, that will have to come on after sunset. Until then, I like to be able to see where I'm going and not get my nose sunburnt beyond recognition. But we've got this wonderful breeding herd of wildebeest, and they've got about 9 babies at the moment. Unfortunately, we can't see them too well. They are busy moving through the round leaf teak thickets, but I'm pretty sure later on the safari they're going to move out into the open areas of the quarantine clearings, and we'll get a nice view of them. And it is absolutely sweltering today after a wonderful cool start to the sunrise safari. As I predicted, it is warmed up, and if you haven't noticed, I'm actually wearing my Christmas present today. I'm not quite sure why, but this is what I got given by the WildEarth crew, a pair of suspenders. I think they might think my pants are falling down too often, and not only suspenders, but luminous orange suspenders. I do quite like them because I can go like this and look very important when I'm thinking and talking about things, and then just let them go with a smack. But welcome to Safari Live. This is Christmas Safari Live. Hopefully we'll be able to find you a Christmas cat or two. And let these wildies move through to the thickets. And because it's so blisteringly hot, around 90 degrees Fahrenheit, I think I should go look for some water and hopefully some elephants. So let's get going. So while I extricate myself from the thicket that I tried to find the wildebeest in, let's go have a look at James, who's with a spiral horned, I don't know.
So we're just here, we're not far from where you last saw us. We're watching some nyala, my favourite antelope, and those are 3 nyala cows, I think. One in the middle might be a very young male. And then, yeah, it is a young male. Whew. There's a monkey, Andrew, if you look off to the left-hand side there. Seldom see monkeys, you know, and I don't really know why. We see them in camp all the time. They come and raid the pantry if we leave the door open. And there's a lovely vervet monkey. I think they're fascinating creatures. And climbing into a tree, I mean, that I like to climb trees, but I would never go anywhere near a tree like that. You'd slice your fingers to pieces on those vicious thorns. I think what he's going for is tree gum. Andrew, can you see what she's having a go at? The acacias are renowned for producing very nutritious tree gum, but normally that's a winter sort of food. But that monkey has definitely got its teeth right in on the branches. Smart redhead, you're working on my friend's recipe for guinea fowl, which, of course, for those of you who missed it, is a very simple recipe, and it's basically a long-cooked stew. And what you do is you take a three-legged pot or cast iron pot, put it on a fire, put a bit of water in it, cut up your veggies, whatever you like, stick it in there, put a brick inside the cast iron pot, put the guinea fowl next to the brick, boil it for 3 or 4 days, and then toss out the guinea fowl and eat the brick. That's basically how you cook guinea fowl. And Smart Redhead, you say you're struggling to find a brick. I'm sorry about that. Perhaps after Christmas, when the builders come back from their builders' holiday, you'll be able to source yourself a brick. And there goes this little Nyale cow. I'm just going to try and sneak a little bit closer to that monkey and just try and see if we can't figure out what he's eating, because I know that some of those red thorn trees, he's sitting in a red thorn tree, those red thorn trees are starting to flower, and any kind of flower in this area attracts an enormous number of insects, and we had one yesterday with Scott. They were, I'm just up to the right-hand side of your screen, just up there, and there were fruit chaffers and CMR blister beetles and longhorn beetles and all sorts of interesting things in it. Let's just see if we can't get a little closer. The monkeys don't like the vehicles for some reason, so I'm not sure how close we'll get. He's still sitting there. Stop right here. He's still sitting in the same tree. There's another one. There's another one lurking in the shadows here who thinks he's very clever. Let's just try and figure out what he's eating. A little one, a young monkey, sub-adult. There are no flowers on that tree, so I don't think that the monkey is going for the insects that are there. And she just looked like she was chewing at the bark. He or she was chewing at the bark, and I think maybe there's some gum leaking out. And the acacia gum, like I say, is very nutritious. There are a few more interesting things here. In front of us, a young Nyala bull. And Diane, I'm going to let you guess what I got for Christmas. Let's make it a little game of 20 questions. I did get one small gift. And the only clue that I'm going to give you over the course of the drive so far is that it is a very useful thing, especially for evenings. I'll also give you the size. It's not very large. They're the Nyala cows, and this little group of Nyala is a very typical arrangement. There's no adult bull with them, just the cows and some young bulls who will eventually sort of, when their testosterone levels start to climb, they'll move away from the herd. And there I am again, of course. There is a monkey just... there it goes. There we go. Now, they've left that tree. Let's go and have a look at the tree and see if we can't find exactly what that monkey was going for. The other thing I'd like to find this afternoon, of course, is a leopard orchid flower. I've always said that I love them so much because they bloom around Christmas time. And I haven't managed to find one that I can pick. And I don't mean the whole plant, I just mean one bloom. One Christmas bloom. Robin, you're in Ohio and you are very grateful that we stayed on for the holidays. You say you were watching while you prepared your family's Christmas Eve meal. Robin, it's our pleasure, and I'm very grateful that you took the time out to watch us, and I'm glad that we provided something of Christmas cheer to you while you were at home slaving over the hot stove. Very sweet little monkey. Oh, sorry, I didn't even tell you what kind of monkey this is. So, Sharon, you're asking what kind of monkey this is from Maryland. Sharon, this is a vervet monkey, and it's the only monkey that we find here. One of 4 primates. The other 3 primate species are bush babies, which are sort of much more primitive primates, baboons, and Andrew, what's the other one? Any idea? Come on then. I'll give you a clue. You're sitting quite close to one.
Vervet monkey.
The human being. Yes, right, well done. Okay, so hopeless, absolutely hopeless. And I'm just being told by the final control that we also get some mango monkeys in South Africa. We do, of course, and they occur in mountains and forested regions, not so much here. In fact, not at all here. So these are the only ones we get here. And, I mean, further north in Africa, sort of the closer to the equator you get, the more number of primates you tend to find. And out here, not that many. We actually get 2 species of bush baby here. I'm wrong. We get 5 primates here if you include us. Thick-tailed and lesser bush baby. One very little, and one, unsurprisingly, with a thick tail. Lets out a perishingly terrifying screech. Smart redhead, you're guessing what I got for Christmas. It was not a bug net. It was not a bottle of moonshine, although that's getting slightly warmer. It was slightly larger than Karula's paw. That's right, I'm going to move a bit forward, and let's have a look at this tree now. Mumsy, Sean, and many others would have been a very appropriate Christmas present. It's a flashlight. I didn't actually. I think I'm going to have to go and spend some money on a flashlight, though. A good one like Scott's. Right, here is the tree that the monkey was eating out of. Now, I'm just going to go around the other side because that's where the monkey was. So like I said, lethal thorns. And the monkey was sort of chewing on a piece in the middle here. And apart from spiking my balding head, I can't really see anything that the monkey would have eaten. There's no kind of obvious gum. There is a beetle here. Was this a beetle? There's a little click beetle. But otherwise, I don't know. And I mean, to have made the choice to climb into a tree like this is amazing to me. They also climb into knob thorns, which have very hooked, nasty thorns. How they do that, I don't know. Oh, there's an elephant, a huge elephant bull. Massive elephant bull coming to drink. Brilliant. Let's go and have a look. Smith says if I wasn't wearing, if I had been wearing my Christmas hat, which I do have with me, by the way, I wouldn't have spiked my balding head on that thorn. That is probably true. I would also have a very nasty case of sunburn on my forehead, though. Nobody wants that. Let's go and have a look. I'm going to suggest we go up to the top there next to the buffalo and see what transpires, because I think that elephant is going to come and have a drink. He's a lovely big bull. Christine, you're on Twitter and you say, do the monkeys steal personal items from the crew? Christine, if you leave a room I'm open, absolutely they do. Thank you for your Merry Christmas wishes, and Merry Christmas to you too. Completely, yes. Monkeys do a lot of thieving. Another comment from Brent Leo Smith on the other vehicle, waffling on about doing something to modify the hat to make it protect you from the sun. But, you know, one never can be sure with Brent. Right, there we go. There's the bull, and the reason we've come here is that I think there might be a little bit of conflict around the water. I suspect he's going to come and have a drink. Isn't he magnificent? Let's just watch carefully here. He'll probably now, of course, just wander straight off up the drainage line, and we'll have to chase him to get a decent view, but that's a pretty good view. That's a fully grown elephant bull, I'd say probably 40 years old. He's in the full bloom of life. We'll just watch him for another sort of 20 or 30 meters, and if he doesn't turn towards the water, we'll go down and follow him. There you can see the buffalo in front of him. He's not coming anywhere near the water. Okay, let's go back. Let's follow him. Sorry, Mr. Buffalo. You're going to have to move out the way there. Lucy in Indiana, no, my gift was not a compass. I'm not sure why you think I need a compass. Thank you. It wasn't a compass. Where he's going. That those monkeys go into the thorn trees because they're dared to do so by other monkeys. I don't think that's the case, but maybe for a Christmas dare. I actually did want to come and drive through this area anyway, because I think this is where Karula went yesterday evening. She doesn't seem to have popped out. Buffalo, of course, all over the place. Of this elephant. He might also try and go to the Gallagher waterhole, which is just around the corner there. There are no buffalo. Smart redhead, you say you love Ellie's, and he's magnificent. He is magnificent. He's watching us quite carefully. He started to move a bit faster. And you want to know also how long they live in the bush. Smart redhead, they live for up to sort of 65 years in advanced cases, but 55 to 60 is probably the norm. I don't know if you noticed what he did there, but we will carry on following. But what he did was, as soon as we got parallel with him, he took 2 steps towards us, and then he started to walk a bit quicker. And all that is saying is, I'm not that comfortable with you at the moment, so keep your distance a bit, but, you know, let's carry on. So that's what we're going to do. He is a 6-ton animal, so there's really no, we don't really have any negotiating power. Christine, I don't know where you're tweeting from, but you say you're coming to the Sabi Sands next year for your first safari. That's great news. You say you're famous for your moonshine. Christine, bring it on, as they say. You say I must put my order in. I'm not sure what kind of moonshine you make, but you know, any exotic moonshine will be gratefully received if diluted quite substantially before consumption. To answer, Mike in Montana. You want to know what's happened to the ball of cameras, the virtual reality rig that we had in front there. Mike, unfortunately, it has malfunctioned. 2 of the little cameras are really struggling to work, so we're trying to fix those at the moment. We discovered that only this afternoon, unfortunately. I don't know that we can get through this way. Getting a little bit closer. William, you say you reckon I got a decanter for Christmas. Not a decanter, William. You are getting closer. Keep going, everyone. We'll get there in the end. I've got a hip flask for my birthday. Now, what I want you to appreciate here is that is a 6-ton animal. He's about 50 meters from us, and he's completely silent. Isn't that amazing? I could hardly see him. 6-ton elephant bull. So we're going to keep following him. I think he's going to go to that other waterhole. Marianne, you're in Boston, and you're asking Andrew if he got sunflower seeds from me. Andrew, you didn't get anything from me, did you? I'll tell you what, you can have some of my bird seed tomorrow for your breakfast, your Boxing Day breakfast. Okay. There we go. Watch your heads here, everybody. A couple of thorns on the left. Nothing up at the top. See this perfect pathway. Oh, that's really a lovely picture, actually. There's a perfect pathway leading onto that elephant bull there. And look at him sitting quietly in the shade there. And this pathway has been worn over years of use. Just try and listen to the wind blowing through the leaves above our heads. And the complete silence of the elephant. Stella in Michigan, you want to know if I got a new pair of binoculars for Christmas? No, I did not get a new pair of binoculars for Christmas. There was a certain budgetary limit on what was going to be handed around the camp, and while these binoculars would certainly have fallen within that budgetary limit, I don't necessarily want to repeat my purchase of binoculars like that. And you also want to know what this little friend of mine here is. He's my little friend. Very sweet. It's a comfort blanket, so it just helps me to, calm myself whenever I'm tense and trying to find a leopard and I can't. Then I stroke that and I feel much better about myself. No, it is a microphone. It's for the virtual reality rig. This is the thing that records the sound. That's all it is. A very fancy little microphone. Let's try and sneak a little bit closer to this elephant. It's very important we assess his behavior the whole way along. Make sure that we don't make him uncomfortable, and therefore that he won't make us uncomfortable. up here onto the road, which is a bit easier. Oh, Pat in Florida, you are very, very, very clever. Pat, I did indeed get a whiskey glass for Christmas. Thank you very much. Well done. I knew you'd get it. I can't believe it took so little time. There were far too many clues. Clown Sharon, and the only thing you say that Andrew got from me was a headache. Andrew, is that the case? Right. Well, Andrew's going to get a lot worse than that. This drive, I tell you that for free. The elephant's coming through this thick stuff here. See, it's very thick. We can't possibly go in there in this vehicle. So let's just go and park by the waterhole there, and hopefully that massive bull will come out and drink in front of us. And also, while we're driving through here, I came through this area once before drive, hoping that maybe we'd see Karula, because this is sort of round about the area that she's spending most of her time these days. And let's just keep an eye out for her as well. Oh, there he is. He is not a small fellow, that. There he comes. Oh, isn't he lovely? I'm just going to let him get past. I don't want to irritate him. That is a proper elephant, that. I don't know that he's even going to have a drink here. Like I said, it hasn't been a very hot day. 30 degrees. Oh, there we go. There we go. That's an indication that he's not particularly pleased with us. He's a little bit tired of us having us follow him. So we're just going to stop here and let him have his space. We've still got a very nice view. So there was no mistaking that body language. It said, thank you, that's quite close enough. Don't come any closer. You're irritating me. And it's interesting, you know, in some of the vehicles, I feel you can get a little bit closer to the elephants without them reacting. And that's because the engines don't make quite the same noise as this one does. This one, every time you let the clutch out, it goes, which of course is almost like a sort of challenge to a big animal like this. Isn't that great? That's wonderful. And rather like the buffalo who were having their pool party at Vuyatela Dam, this elephant is having his own little pool party. He's a bit of a Nigel no-mates at the moment. But of course that is typical for elephant bulls. They like to live on their own. Oh, that's wonderful to watch. Isn't that great? So not very thirsty. Like I said, hasn't been a very hot day. So Susan, you're in California. We can't follow that elephant in there, I'm afraid. It's very, very thick. Susan, in California, you say you've just got a book for Christmas called The Wildlife of Southern Africa by Withers and Hoskins. I've never heard of them. It sounds like a wonderful book, and you say now you can start your bird list. Absolutely you can. Isn't that wonderful? There he goes, disappears into the thick bush. I think we'll leave him going there. Let's head across to Brent Leo Smith, see what he's got to show you. I think he's driving the boundaries. I bet, hoping for signs of wild dogs. Let's head across to him and I'll catch up with you a little bit later.
Welcome to our blistering hot Christmas drive. Tebs and I are perusing the southern sectors of the reserve, and we're on our way to Treehouse Waterhole, where we're hoping elephants might be, where they've dug below the water table to create a natural pan for all the other animals. And so, as you saw earlier, it was very hot wearing the Christmas hat, so now I've made a modification. So I have my Christmas hat on top of my cap, and it's working very well. I'm not sure how I ended up with these orange suspenders as a Christmas present. Secondly, I'm still not sure who bought them. I think it was Steph, and Steph obviously must think I'm about 3 foot shorter than I actually am. And we actually had a very special request for a Christmas drive. Oh, they're that's what I'm pointing at. They're running at high speed. We might try to catch up with them. Unfortunately, they disappeared. We will try to get a view again, but that was especially a Merry Christmas to our director who left us recently, Tara Dales, her favorite animal. But let's show you where they've just been. So as you can see, it is incredibly dry in front of us, and we're at the bottom end of a natural seep line. So a seep line is where water migrates underneath the ground naturally, and the elephants have actually come here and dug deep enough that the water is seeping through the ground. And this is what the warthogs were bathing in. Now, to you and I, that might look very soupy and muddy and not very nice to drink. But to a lot of the animals, and especially during a drought, it's an incredible source of water. And as you can see, the buzzing of insects, wasps, butterflies, robber flies, mealoid beetles will all utilize this water source. So it's an incredible source of nutrients to animals in a very dry climate. There we go. I don't know if you can see that butterfly. It's one of the little blues, but far too highly mobile to try to get an ID on. So this has been dug by elephants. So elephants know that the water here is very close to the surface, and they've dug down with their feet, with their trunks, with their tusks. You can even see the divots where they've used their tusks and created a water hole. And if you're a warthog or a buffalo, you will like to lie in it, or even a hyena or a wild dog, this is an incredible spot. And every drive at the moment, while it's so dry, I come here to check. And hopefully we might find some ellies here one day and actually get to see them excavate this hole. But let's try catch up with those very shiny warthogs that are covered in mud. Chatting about ellies who've excavated that hole. Smart redhead would like to know, can African elephants swim like Indian elephants? They can swim very, very well. I've watched African elephants swim expanses of water of over 4 kilometers in Botswana and Namibia. So yes, they are very apt swimmers. Obviously, we don't see them swimming too often in these parts. We are not blessed with large rivers. So as I've mentioned, we're in a very dry period at the moment. And Jose in Virginia, he says from a very warm Virginia, and I can't imagine Virginia being too warm at this time of the year, but what I consider warm. Jose is wondering, has the weather patterns changed so drastically that it's affected animals? Jose, not yet. We're still quite early in this drought, but in Africa, generally you work on about seven years wet, 7 years dry, and we've had an incredibly wet previous 7 years. So a dry 7 years is natural and part of the system. And when we have these very dry periods, what it does is it kills the weak and infirmed. So any animal that's harboring a disease or slightly injured or whatnot, now with the added pressure of trying to find food and water, becomes an easy target for the different predators. And you will notice in times of drought, lion populations sorry guys, we just have to keep quiet for a second. I was almost sure I heard monkey's alarm calling. When monkey's alarm, they've definitely seen a predator. It sounds very close to our southern boundary, so we're gonna move there. I'm a bit worried about it. It could even be south of our boundary, but we're definitely gonna go have a look. So I'm gonna actually speed up a little bit. So hold on, sit tight. Monkeys are one of the best sort of alarm systems you have in the bush. When they start alarm calling, it means there's definitely a predator, and not a snake eagle or a Warburg's eagle. It's going to be a lion, a leopard, a wild dog, or cheetah. So, Jose, while I'm speeding, I'll continue on with your question. And as I said, very early in the drought, so you will notice some of the buffalo have started to lose condition. You will see a lot more ribs showing through their sides, and you'll notice certain animals, especially the young animals, and that's one of the reasons that the wildebeest is spending so much time close to quarantine clearing, because there's water right there. Normally there would be water inundated throughout the savannah at this time from the rain, but it isn't there. So little pans like this on the left, I'm going to get Tibbs to show you now. You can see this hollow depression here on the left. Normally at this time of the year would be completely full of water, and as you can see, it's very, very bone dry, and so the animals are forced onto these areas where there's permanent water or pumped water. So that's what makes it more difficult for them, because they actually have to travel big distances to get to food and back to water. So I'm guessing, and as I said, this is a very much a hit and hope run we're doing at the moment. I'm quite confident that those monkeys were alarming south of our boundary, or literally on our boundary, and I would say it was about here. Just listen for a second, and just looking at the bush around me, the trees, again, and it really breaks my heart to say this, but whatever those monkeys are, I'm calling it, are south of our boundary. Just hear them. They're not as, but in the meantime, Tibbs, can you see the woodland kingfisher? You got it? No. Okay, so if we go from this knobthorn next to us here, and we go to the third largest tree from where we are, on the right-hand bottom branch coming out.
Yeah, there's a plant.
In your way. Let me go back a little bit. You got it? There we go. A woodlands kingfisher sitting in the shade. And the wind is gusting, and the alarm calls are quite difficult to hear, but the monkeys are still alarming. I wonder what it could be. that's what really gets me going about alarm calls when they're outside of our Traverse area. Is it a lion? Is it a leopard? Is it cheetah? Or is it my favorite animal, wild dog? But we're going to definitely enjoy this incredibly beautiful bird, one of the intra-African migrants. So our wintertime, it spends in the warm climes of Central and Western Africa and moves down here to breed during our summer. Woodlands kingfisher. And those of you who spend a lot of time on the dam cams will know them and their calls very well, that very distinct chit-chirr, chit-chirr. And for us in Southern Africa, it is the sound that summer has well and truly arrived. So, one of the most interesting things about this kingfisher is it's an insectivorous kingfisher, so it doesn't eat fish, even though it is named a kingfisher. And it has got one of my favorite scientific names of all the birds. It's Haloson senegalensis. And anyone who knows Latin or Italian, and even proper English, if you refer to a halcyon day, it is when the ocean is so still it looks like a lake. There's not a wave on it. And in the Mediterranean, you get those days from time to time. And a relative of the woodlands kingfisher, called the common kingfisher, well, was known to fly out over those very still waters, assuming it was a lake, and then flying out to sea. They would actually land on ships or boats and die, or land in the sea and die. And that's how the whole family got their scientific name, Haloson, from the still seas of the Mediterranean. But unfortunately, those monkeys are still alarm calling, and I don't know if you guys can hear it. It's gusting on the wind, which would make it very difficult for you to hear. So I can hear, you guys can't hear it, but unfortunately we can. And I'd say they're probably 400 to 500 meters from where we are now. So well out of our Traverse zone, I'm afraid. And we can only speculate to what creature, what predator might be there. So I'm going to turn around and come back to this area later, who knows, or maybe get an update from the guys in the south to find out what possibly might be down there. If I remember the updates I got after drive this morning, I think there is a single Birmingham male lion and 2 Styx lionesses that are supposed to be on this property somewhere close by. So I think that's possibly what the monkeys might be seeing, moving towards a water hole. But again, speculation. Well, what I do to be able to transfer them into a bird and just fly over and have a quick squiz. So we've just left that beautiful woodlands kingfisher. And another question from Jose. Merry Christmas, Jose. And he's wondering what bird has the biggest beak out here. So, of course, we have many different beak types out here. Sorry, I'm just waving at a vehicle taking staff off to the gate so they can go on holiday after their working morning. And Jose, I think it probably belongs to the ground hornbill, which we saw on the sunrise safari in terms of sheer size and weight. And obviously there's lots of different beak designs, and I'd probably say that definitely the ground hornbill, the heaviest, followed possibly by the marabou and saddle-billed storks. Obviously, if you're a very big bird, you're going to have a very big bill. but you probably find from the size and strength, any of the vultures, specifically the larger vulture species, lappet-faced and white-backed vulture, have a very large bill, not a very long bill, but a very heavy set, very strong bill for tearing at carcasses. Well done, Nicole, and Nicole's mom, who I'm afraid I don't know your name. Nicole said she just got her mom a South African wildlife book for Christmas, and her mom has just marked off a woodlands kingfisher off her bird list. Well, Nicole and Nicole's mom, we encourage you to keep marking off birds, and don't only do birds, do mammals, do trees, do butterflies, and hopefully the more you watch, the more birds you can tick off that list, the more butterflies, the more trees, and the more mammals you can as well. So while we continue to check the southwestern sections of Djuma Private Game Reserve, let's go see what the other Christmas elf, the inimitable James Henry, has been up to.
Hello everybody, we're just approaching Buffelshoek Dam now. And there is a buffalo. Oh look, there's an animal stuck in the mud. Oh gee, this is horrible to see. There are also some warthogs going off to the left-hand side there. Ooh, so sure about this. I'm just going to pull onto the dam wall here. Let us assess the situation carefully. Now you see, this is fairly typical in any area, of course, that animals do get stuck in mud. And this mud, I mean, I nearly stood on it the other day, and Andrew said, don't, you'll sink very far in. That's an impala. Oh, that's very distressing. Right, what we're going to do, I'm just going to go down there. That buffalo, of course, is standing quite close by, just so that we can assess exactly what's going on there. Let me fix my radio quickly. There we go. Okay, let's go down there. So for a big animal like that buffalo, this mud is no problem because it's probably about as deep as its belly. But for this impala, it's obviously not great. I wonder how long it's been stuck in there. And I'm just going to give it some distance. I don't want to get too close and stress it out. It's already absolutely exhausted. But I think what we're going to do, everybody, is I certainly can't go in there and fetch it out because there's no ways that I would be able to have, you know, that mud I will sink up to my thighs in. What we might do is just get hold of the Sabi Sands and see if they want to do anything about it. So, Smart Reddit, I don't really know how to answer your question. You want to know if anybody will try and get the impala out. We're going to try and get hold of the Sabi Sands. We'll ask them what they're going to do. I'm not sure what the answer is. I suspect the answer is going to be, well, I actually don't know what the answer is going to be. The only reason they would is because this is a man-made dam, and so this mud is man-made, so this is an anthropogenic effect. It's the effect of human interference that has made this impala stuck. But how or why it's in here is interesting. I don't believe it was looking for water to drink. It's possible it was chased in here perhaps by wild dogs, and I'm just looking at the ground here to see if there are any tracks. But I don't see any. I think what we're going to do, I'm going to hand you back to Brent, and I'll try and get hold of the Sabi Sands quickly, and then I will bring you some news shortly.
So it seems very, very quiet here on Djuma at the moment. So Tebs and myself are moving across towards our western boundary and going to go see what's happening on Arathusa. And as Tebs was showing you, the sun is hiding behind a few little cumulus clouds. They haven't built to a cumulus nimbus just yet. So for those of you who don't know, when referring to clouds, any cloud that has the word nimbus after it, nimbus means rain. So they're definitely not cumulus nimbus we're looking at there. They're just cumulus, and they're very baby cumulus. And cumulus are one of the more important clouds when you're dealing with large thunderstorms. And they have a very specific shape. When they form, they become an anvil. And you almost have this anvil shape, like the old blacksmith's anvil. And when you see that anvil building in the sky, you know there's a possibility of a very large storm on the way. I'm going to have to beg your forgiveness while I use the Arathusa radio quickly, which is stuck behind my water bottle at the moment. Tristan or Doug coming? Is any station on the west copying me? Well, it seems we might be a little bit far to use the Arathusa comms just yet. So let us get a bit closer and see what's happening there. Sometimes it can get a little confusing, especially on Rusty. We are operating on about 4 different radio systems simultaneously. Oh, just move out of the way. There's a vehicle on their way out.
Good afternoon, guys. I'm in the wings. Any update?
He will be able to hear me. He sounds closer to me.
Just Salation Antoine fence line. The Manueletti and Anderson has left open lock. The Cubian's crossing side, the poor visual on it. Poor visual.
Just
One of the
listening.
doors seen around track south, coming south towards central. Open lock, and that's it. Cool, thanks, Eddie. For the east, there was this Madingi Yari and Kombi, the Ramkot of Commodity.
Okay, so there we go. There's a female leopard and her cub, which is outside of our traverse zone called Salaheshe. And she is a leopard I have never seen. I've never been able to extend our drive to where she lives. And then the Anderson male was seen also, but apparently a very poor visual and also very far from our traverse zone, actually on the border of Londolozi, quite far to the south and west of us. Rattle, rattle. But I'm hoping there are going to be some elephant around the Arethusa waterhole. When it's hot like this, waterholes are the business. I do apologize for the bumps on this road. As I said, one of the main access roads into the reserve and gets a lot of traffic, and that's where you get these very heavy corrugations. So this is a very, very wonderful little message and a very personal message for me. Thank you very much, Michael and Elka, who are in Johannesburg and watching the show. And they've obviously recently been to a lodge called Sabi Sabi, which is quite well. Actually, if you go straight down that road, you will eventually get there. And my younger brother has started his training as a game ranger, following in the footsteps, so to speak. I'm a little bit proud. Don't tell him that. But my brother studied finance and other stuff I have no idea about. But at the ripe old age of 28, he's decided to become a safari guide. And he has started at Sabi Sabi. And Michael and Elka obviously met him there. And my brother just says he's really enjoying his time in the Sabi Sands. And I am very happy and a little bit proud of that. Go Ratbag. That is my nickname for my brother, believe it or not. It has been since he was about 14 years old. Thank you to B. Wilson, who says I look dashing in my bright orange suspenders. I think so too. I would just really prefer that they were one size or two sizes bigger slightly. They are very tight. But I think if I keep doing this, they're going to stretch enough that they won't be so tight by the end of the safari. The SafariLIVE skeleton crew that is in the Sabi Sands over the Christmas and New Year's period. Mike is wondering where we all live and whether we live in an actual house or do we live in a tented camp. Well, Mike, we live actually between two different places. So some of us live at Yuri, the landowner, his sister's house on the reserve. There are 5 of us who permanently live there, and it's Nikki and Scott, Jamie and myself, and Eugene, and the rest of the crew live in what is known as the DRC, the Democratic Republic of Congo, or the Juma Research Camp. That is a slightly more intimate camp where everyone lives next to each other, but generally we all take our meals together in the DRC. And meetings and all sort of function all happen at the DRC. So we're about to approach the Arethusa airstrip. And we're going to go see what's happening there. hopefully there might be quite a lot of animals. Unfortunately, our battery is about to die because we are on quite a strange rig at the moment. So Tebs has to change the battery shortly. So if we do go black screen, we do apologize. But there's a male impala just in front of us in the drainage line. I've just got word that there's a possibility of a special animal on the boundary of Juma and the southern properties. So we're going to head that way. So bear with me. And if we do lose signal, we do apologize because it's our battery's flat and we'll change it as fast as possible. James is off tracking at the moment. So unfortunately, if we do lose battery, we cannot go to him. He's not at the vehicle. I'm not sure what he's tracking. Hopefully we'll get an update on that shortly. What the possible Christmas special animal is. Remember, send your answers through, or your guesses about what the special Christmas animal is, to questions@wildearth.tv via email, or use the hashtag SafariLIVE on Twitter. Well spotted, Tebs. I was so concentrating on rushing off to the secret animal that we nearly missed the special Christmas warthogs for Tara Dales. Unfortunately, we can't stay here too long. We have to keep moving to the secret animal. Wait, one look at this face. A face only a mother could love. I must just warn that the secret animal is probably a 30% chance that we're going to find it, but it's worth the risk. But look at that. Piggies. But let's rush on to the secret animal. This is one of those difficult roads. You know, we hit those really bad bumps. Normally we're going quite slowly, but because we're the only vehicle that is operational at the moment, I'm going a little bit faster. If you go faster, you don't hit those corrugations so badly. If I went slower, literally Tebs and myself would have no teeth left by the end of this road. Scream leopard. Tebs, I might give you oh my god, Tebs, well done. I might give you a Christmas kiss. I was so concentrating on avoiding the corrugations, I just drove past Shadow. Hello, Scardivier. Shadow being Shadow. She is quite a snarly leopard, as leopards go. Well done, Tebsy. Let me just turn around. Don't go that way, please, Shadow. We're right on our boundary and she's walked across, but hopefully she'll keep working parallel. Well, this definitely trumps the secret animal. A leopard in hand is better than 25 sets of tracks. So I'm going to try to get a little bit ahead. Unfortunately, she's crossed into the opposite property. We're right on the boundary. She's going to pop out into that gap. I have to let the vehicles on this side of the world know. She's going to pop out into this gap in about 3 seconds, or she laid down. She's gone flat. Okay, let's go backwards. Is any station in the west copying me? We've located Shadow on Triple M, just to the south of the junction, Gary, mate.
We've got Shadow on Triple M south of main.
Affirmative.
What's he doing, Grace?
At the moment, she's lying up about 15 meters into Hoffman's.
Cedric, right, it's quite soft. Yeah, but like you said, she's lying upright. Copy. I'm going to take myself out of the locked off isolation. I'm closer to that one. I'll Shadow. Brent, I'm coming to join in.
Copy said, just come on Triple M, you'll get my vehicle visual.
That'll be that. Alright, it is.
So isn't this incredible? We have a Christmas cat, thanks to Tebs. And we went from a 30% chance of finding an animal to a 100% chance of having a leopard. And that is our Christmas present today. So there we go. And there was some talk of Christmas cats this morning that didn't appear, but tick, Christmas kitty cat. And I think all of us out there need to give Tebs a big thank you for our Christmas cat present. And he is the one who spotted Shadow. Tebs, is this your first solo leopard spot? No, he shakes his head. Fourth! There we go. He's an old hand these days. Ah, that is true. I nearly forgot about that. Tebs, when he was with Scott, spotted the dogs way before Scotty did. So unfortunately, she is lying just outside of our Travis area, but we do have a good view, and the majority of her territory actually falls back towards where we are. So we're definitely going to sit this out, and hopefully she will move her way back towards Arethusa. So Smart Redhead, I agree with you 110%. Shadow is a wonderful name for her. She is quite camera shy at the moment. and Tebs is an awesome cameraman. So you can see she's busy doing a little bit of preening, cleaning at the moment, and you'll notice leopards do that quite often when they're sleeping. I'm just going to have a quick afternoon meeting here quickly, guys. I'll be back with you in a second. She's lying under the Combritum closest to the Shidulu. Yeah.
Okay, thanks, man.
Do I need to move for you, or you good?
I'm going to have a look here from the back front here. And I'll see if I can get a bit of...
Cool. So the guys from Nkoro have arrived. And they, fortunately for them, are able to traverse this property just to the south of where we are, or the southeast. We just might have to move the vehicle a little bit so they can get past us. And then we'll be back in a second. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Thank you very much for the...
Oh, Lord. Thank Tebs. He spotted it.
Yeah, well done.
So we're just going to wait a second. We're just going to let them, they're going to go around where they can drive off the road. Just going to wait for them to go past. Tebs, you got a view? No. We will go forward a little bit. Let's see if we can... Oops. There we go. Watch out. Let's see if we can get a decent view from around here. Negative. Let me just turn the vehicle around. So the other thing is, finding and spotting animals is a team game. So we will always share sightings, and we've been right up at the front having her by ourselves for the whole drive so far. And the likelihood is that we're going to stay much longer here than the other vehicles. So what I will do is let them have their Christmas leopard, but we'll have a much longer Christmas leopard. So Genevieve in New York would like to know, has any specific species ever chosen not to procreate because of disease outbreaks? Not that I'm aware of, Genevieve. I think it's a very instinctive thing. They are programmed to procreate at any time possible, as opposed to the very rare occurrence of takeovers of males, but we'll chat about that a little bit shortly. What we're going to do is we're going to let everyone else enjoy it, because we're not going anywhere for a while, and we're just going to move back. I'm going to get you a view of her tail at least, and we're just going to sit here, and we will move into position where we can see her wonderfully shortly. And this is how you see how wonderful a leopard's camouflage is and how good Tebs' spotting is. Let's see. So, if we have a look through there, Tebs, do you have any rosettes? There we go. Have you got rosettes? Spots? Let me go forward a little bit. So just, you guys.
Tiny spots.
Yes, there we go. So you can see how incredible that camouflage is. And that's why leopards are one of the more difficult animals to find, and why we always get so excited when we find them. And you can see there, almost zero chance of spotting that when you drive past, unless you are the eagle eyes of Tebs, who spotted that long before I did. So Shell in Detroit would like to know what are Shadow's very distinctive markings. So Karula's got the wow between her eyes, and Kanuma's got the pound sign. Shell, I think you're getting Kanuma and Quarantine confused. Quarantine is the one with the pound sign, and a landing strip down his back. But for me, the most distinguishing features of Shadow is she's got a very distinct face compared to most other leopards in this area. She's got almost a pug face. I know I'm probably going to get in trouble for this, but she's not the prettiest leopard in the world. She is still nevertheless beautiful, being a female leopard. And she's got a very squat face, and she's quite a lot paler than even her mother, Karula. And for me, immediately those are distinguishing features. Also her behavior. She's quite a snarly leopard. She growls at cars quite often. And the fact that she snarled at us in the beginning is a good sign that it is Shadow. So guys, we are going to have to move the car again. There's another vehicle about to arrive. And I just need to explain to them where they need to go. And we'll let them enjoy the sighting. And I promise you, we're not going anywhere. We're going to take the most advantage of our Christmas cat as possible. And let me just move out of the way for Sid. Merry Christmas, everyone! Everyone is in such a good mood because it is Christmas. I half expect Cedric to get his guests to start singing Christmas carols at the Leopard. Okay, Tibbs, you tell me when you've got the best shot. It's not going to be the greatest, but it is going to be around here somewhere.
Reverse slightly.
Yeah. Say when?
Yeah.
So, from what I can see, it looks like she... Well, I'm not going to speculate because we're not going to be moving for a while. I'm actually going to climb out of my seat and I'm going to sit behind Tebs so I can see what Tebs is filming. And therefore we can chat a bit better. Oh, there we go. Beautiful Tebs. We've got her face and she's lying up. It's very hot. And we can see that bright green bush willow branches around her. So Safari Dean is wondering what was the other surprise animal that I was speeding towards. Well, it was actually James Henry and Andrew Francis making absolute nonsenses out of themselves. So definitely, this is much better. You can see the heavy panting. She's very hot. It's well over 90 degrees Fahrenheit, possibly even got close to 100 today. And that was with the cool morning we had. And I haven't seen Shadow in quite a while, so I'm quite excited to catch up with this female leopard. And again, we are on the small camera, which is not connected to the battery bank. So if we do disappear, I do apologize. We do need to change the battery. So what we will do is, as soon as the battery dies, we will let you, well, we won't let you know because we'll disappear, but don't worry. We will be back as soon as we can change the battery. So we've been chatting about our living arrangements a little bit earlier on the safari, and Laura's saying, but surely living in such close proximity to each other, we must get on each other's nerves, and how often does that happen? Well, Laura, we're very lucky. We have a very, very open camp, and as soon as even the smallest thing irritates someone, we generally bring it up, and that's the only way you can do that, because if you leave things and they build and fester, it'll be a problem. Okay, guys, we are going to disappear.
Hello everyone. Being out in the bush and being out there live has its technical challenges. We're experiencing some of that now and are working on it as fast as possible to get it sorted and get you back in the vehicle with us. Hello everyone. Being out in the bush and being out there live has its technical challenges. We're experiencing some of that now and are working on it as fast as possible to get it sorted and get you back in the vehicle with us. Hello everyone. Being out in the bush and being out there live has its technical challenges. We're experiencing some of that now and are working on it as fast as possible to get it sorted and get you back in the vehicle with us.
So we're back and we can see this leopard has gone completely flat. And she didn't look too full when we saw her move. So she might move again before the end of the sunset safari. And unfortunately, this is the best angle we have at the moment. without illegally traversing someone else's land. Oh, there her head pops up, and that is, of course, just because the wonderful Hayden Turner, a well-known presenter on Safari Live to most of you, for the new viewers. Maybe you might know him from Big Cat Week. He was in the tent. So Hayden is in Ireland with his family and friends, with his wife Nina and his son Jack, and they are busy watching Safari Live on Christmas Day, all the way from Ireland, the Emerald Isle, and we are sitting here in Africa watching Shadow, the female leopard, wishing they were here with us. See, she's very hot. She didn't look too full, but she's probably been moving during the heat of the day. There's a big misconception that leopards only move when it's cool, but the one thing I've learned in all the years watching animals, that you can never know that for sure. And in this area particularly, it seems the leopards do move quite big distances during the heat of the day. You can see those lovely long white whiskers. And who out there can tell me what is the correct scientific term for a leopard's whiskers? And you can send your answers through to questions@wildearth.tv or use the hashtag SafariLive on Twitter. Now, as Teb zooms out, you'll see how effective her camouflage is. And if we keep going, you'll see she almost melts into the surrounding bush. And if Tebs hadn't had such good eyesight, we definitely would have missed her. Look at that. Isn't that incredible? So Shadow is one of the resident or dominant female leopards we see regularly. Her mother, Karula, we see more regularly around Djuma, whereas Shadow holds more of her territory on Arathusa. Both of them have been seen mating recently with Tingana, and I've also heard Shadow was also mating with the beast, that is the Anderson male. So hopefully in a few months we can look forward to having a few new sets of leopards to add to the Safari Live family. So, speaking about the possibility of future leopard generations on Safari Live, Andrea from Toussaint is wondering, do I think Shadow might be pregnant? Andrea, I'm not going to hesitate to guess. There's a possibility she might be, there's a possibility she might not be. Not all copulations end in pregnancy, as with all animals. So she has been mating quite frequently, so there is a strong possibility she is, but until she comes closer to that sort of 90 to 100 days before she gives birth, it's going to be very difficult for us to tell. So if she is, it's still in the early stages. Oh, itchy ear. And I was referring to how to tell the difference between the different leopards, and as I said, there's no individual sort of signature spot that stands out for me on Shadow, but it's her general shape of head, and as she turned, just before she turned there, as you could see, oh, she's up, scratching the other side. Temperature has dropped quite a bit, and I'm hoping she'll be on the move, and be on the move to the west, back into Arathusa, back into the core of her territory, around the Arathusa Safari Lodge, a wonderful place to go on holiday. If you ever are thinking about an African safari, there's a splendid place with a bunch of wonderful staff to take care of your every need and whim while in the African bush. So when you see an animal like a leopard start grooming, there's a strong possibility she might get moving shortly. And it's amazing, the sun's gone behind a large bank of cloud, temperatures dropped a couple of degrees, and that could be the catalyst to see her on the move. She also could have been lying there, and the biting flies could have been creating havoc on her ears and other extremities. So she's on the move. And we're going to hope she carries on in the direction she's going at the moment, which is towards Arathusa and out of the property she's on at the moment. So I have to jump around the car, away from behind Tebs, back into the driver's seat. So unfortunately, we have to power down to start the car. It's acting as a signal jammer again. And we're going to go across to James, who's been misbehaving very badly, and see what he's been doing.
Right, everybody. Sorry for our prolonged absence. We did actually decide, Andrew and I, that because it was Christmas Day, in fact not because of that, because that dam was a man-made thing, we'd go in and try and help the impala, which we then did. We kind of crawled over the mud, and it's very unpleasant in there. It's very scratchy. There are fish bones all over the place, so there are now fish bones in our knees, in our feet, in our hands. We got the first one out, and we noticed another one. And so, yes, there we go. And so we then decided we couldn't save one and not the other, and it looked like actually a mother and her calf. Now, I must just reiterate here, if that was not a man-made dam, we would have done nothing. We would have left it, and it would have been very painful to do, but we would have left it. Because it was man-made, Andrew and I took the decision to get the impala out, and we did that. Whether they will survive or not, I don't know. They were certainly very exhausted, but they did both trot off into the bush, so who knows? At least we've given them a chance, and what they do with that chance is entirely up to them, I suppose. What we're going to have to do, though, is go home and try and disinfect our legs. That mud, remember, what we've seen in there. We've seen hippo putting their dung in there. We've seen buffalo putting their dung in there. Countless numbers of fish have died in there. So the bacterial load of that mud is probably quite high. And just to avoid the little cuts and things that we've got on our legs becoming infected, we're going to go home and just put a bit of disinfectant on them. So that's the story. A nice happy Christmas ending for that impala and what's looked like her lamb. I suspect the lamb probably ran in there. Maybe the ewe then went after her and also got stuck. Anyway, they're both out now, covered in mud. They look a bit like Andrew and I. And all's well that ends well. See a lovely cloud building up towards the west there. And I'm hoping that that will bring in some Christmas rain for us. You're in Yuma, Arizona, and while we drive along here, you want to know what animal in the Sabi Sands looks similar to a reindeer. Well, I suppose the most similar sized animal would be a kudu. They're quite tall. They may be slightly larger than a reindeer. They've got long spiral horns. But remember we saw kudu at the beginning of the drive. But remember that the reindeer, of course, are... remember two things about reindeer. The first is that they have antlers, of course, and on the males, those antlers fall off every year. And the females, apparently, the antlers don't fall off. And the interesting thing about that, of course, was that Santa's reindeer are all operational in the winter time. And they're all got antlers. And so, therefore, they must all be females. And yet, none of them are named for females. I think they're asking for a link to Brent. I think Shadow is on the move, so let's go across to them, and we'll keep you posted on our progress as we go.
So, unfortunately, Shadow seems to be going a little bit beyond. There we go, there she is. Sitting on top of the termite mound. Say when, Tevzi? How's that? I think I'm going to get you a gap if I go there a little bit. Say when?
2 seconds. Yeah.
There. Good. So she's climbed atop a large termite mound now. And I was worried she was going to disappear further from our boundary. So Jan van Rensburg, who's tweeting at us on this Christmas day, would like to know if there's a story about how a leopard got its spots. There's a few, Jan. I actually can't remember any offhand at the moment. Tevz, I'm going to try and move a little bit forward. I think we're going to get a better gap from past this variable bush willow. How's that? Okay. Tell me if I need to move.
No.
Is that the spot? There's the spot. So using the high ground of the termite mound to peruse her surroundings, just in case there's a potential prey species or a potential threat around. And we were asking how we discern the different leopards a bit earlier. And you can see there now, she is quite a bit paler than her mom, Karula. And she does have a slightly more stubby face, in my opinion. But nevertheless, an absolutely beautiful creature. You can see that heavy breathing from the heat. So the temperature has dropped. There's a large cloud bank moving over, which could prompt her to move a little bit earlier than she would normally at this time of the year in the heat. See how she still moves her ears to listen. And that's a nice big termite mound she's found, probably a good 3 meters above the surrounding ground. And see, while she's on top of the termite, she tries to keep her ears as flat as possible to look like a termite chimney that might be popping out, and to try persuade any potential prey species that she's not a threat. And there we go. She's slightly changing position. Oh, isn't that wonderful, guys? She's giving you the Christmas pose. And wait for it. She's going to look right in you. I hope you guys are ready with your screenshots. And don't forget to share all your screenshots either on Twitter using the hashtag SafariLIVE, or pop them on our Facebook page, which is the official SafariLIVE Facebook page. There we go. There's the shot. The quintessential leopard pose. So a very, very big Christmas congratulation to Ellen, Sarah and Iodine, who have got the answer to the whisker question. The correct terminology for a leopard's whisker is vibrissae, which comes from the word vibrate. So even though a leopard relies heavily on its eyes and ears, when it is stalking, those tiny little vibrations, or when it touches little grass stalks or branches, the whiskers are the ones that pick that up. There we go. Look at that for a beautiful visage. Other reason she might be utilizing the high ground on that termite mound is there's a bit more wind up there, so slightly cooler than she would be below. See, the sun has gone behind this large cloud bank. She's sitting a little bit higher, a bit cooler. She's not breathing as heavily as she was 5 minutes ago even. You can see the sky is darkening behind her. And from her point of view, she wants the sky to get as dark as possible over the evening. It makes for better hunting for her. So we've got lots of fantastic screenshots of a Shadow, the female leopard, from many different viewers, and I'm very happy you guys are taking my advice and taking advantage of this incredibly beautiful sighting of a leopard I haven't seen in a few weeks, at least. The last time I saw her, she was having that territorial dispute with her mother, where her mother managed to blow a spit bubble. So as we look at the beautiful vision that is Shadow, Karula's daughter from her first litter, Marla Oppenheim is wondering, what happened? I tuned in late. Oh my goodness. Well, Marla, you should have been on time. Tisk, tisk, tisk. Marla, no, it is not an interrupted hunt. Tebs happened to spot her as we were moving down our eastern boundary on Arethusa. And she's moved slightly where she rested for a while. Now, as it's got a bit cooler, she's moved to the top of a termite mound. Can see how the wind is gusting behind her. Well, we've just got a wonderful email in from Rachel who says, thank you, Tebs, for the wonderful Christmas leopard. I think we're all in accord when we need to bow down to Teb's spotting skills this evening. He spotted Shadow, and Rachel says, aren't her eyes incredible and beautiful? So Janine in New Hampshire would like to know where Shadow got her name from. So Janine, traditionally in the Sabi Sands, is the first guide and tracker who find the leopard cubs, get to name them, and we only generally name leopard cubs when they're over a year old, because they have about a 70 to 75% mortality rate up until then. So whoever would have been the guide and tracker combination that found Shadow as a cub 9 years ago would have got the honors of naming her. Viam, who's on leave at the moment, one of our other cameramen, has decided if he ever finds a leopard cub, he is going to call it Demon Slayer or Dark Shadow or some very strange name. But we hopefully will be able to temper his enthusiasm and maybe steer him towards a more appropriate name for a leopard. So as I mentioned earlier, if she is pregnant, she is very much in the early stages. Katie in Virginia is wondering if she has cubs. No, she does not. That I'm certain of. Even if she is pregnant at this very early stages, we're not going to be able to see whether she is pregnant for at least another month or two at the minimum. Well, a big thank you to Curious One for spending her Christmas with us. She says this is so relaxing. She's dreading driving 3 hours to her sister's house for a second Christmas. Well, I'm glad you spent your first Christmas with your SafariLIVE family, Curious One. So, Katie, another question from Katie. Thanks for sending through your questions, Katie. Katie would like to know if Shadow's got any sisters or brothers. If I remember Shadow's history correctly, she has a sister called Tandi, who lives to the south and east of where Shadow and Karula live. And she would be the exact same age as Shadow, 9 years old. We have a wonderful comment from Pretty Nightmare who says, thank you very much to Brent and Tebs for being here while everyone else is on holiday to bring all our viewers the live safaris. It is our absolute pleasure, and we're fortunate, some of the fortunate few people in the world who actually like what they do for a living. So it is not a job, it is a pleasure to take these safaris for you guys. So she's on the move. I'm hoping she moves towards us. You still got her there, Tibbs? Can't see her at the moment. Tibbs has got her, and that's what counts. I might move a little bit forward. Unfortunately, I think we're going to have to go across to Tech Loop again for a little bit because I can't start the car because the signal is being blocked by the signal that's sending you the wonderful picture of the leopard. So we'll be back in as few seconds as possible.
Hello everyone. Being out in the bush and being out there live has its technical challenges. We're experiencing some of that now and are working on it as fast as possible to get it sorted and get you back on the vehicle with us. Hello, everyone.
So unfortunately, Shadow has moved further to the southeast. We are busy battling to get a view of her at the moment. She's moving angled away from us. We're trying to just spot that white of the tail. I'm hoping she climbed up this other termite mound, but it doesn't look like it. Tibbs, you got anything there? You still got her? No. Let's see if we can try get the slightest view. We said it said past. Which Ngala?
Just one moving up.
I can't see her anymore. She's headed for the east. Enjoy, guys. So we have lost sight of Shadow, who's sorry, excuse me, a bit of a tongue twister there, is choosing to be as difficult to tie down as a shadow. And it looks like she has moved further out of our traverse zone to where we can't even catch a glimpse of her. I'm going to try again, don't worry. We will keep trying, but I think if we don't see her now, I'm afraid she has moved to where we shall not see her again. So she came down off this termite mound and she has now proceeded south.
Yeah, I just checked.
So unfortunately, we're not able to go further into there. Tibbs, you got anything? So,
Thank you, station. I'm going to be crossing over to the Eastern Channel.
Cedric's in a good mood. Oh, there we go. I think someone else is trying to come find her. So I'm just going to give them an update because they can drive in there, we can't. It's Roy. There we go. I'm just pointing where he should go. And we're going to make our way out since we have no visual anymore. And she's moving further away. I'm just going to get hold of Roy on the radio. Roy, from that big Shadulu, there's that slightly taller Combritum. The last visual I had of her was there, and she was heading south and east. Okay, well, Christmas cats! I might have to do a little dance a little bit later, but while we're on the roll, I think I should try for a Christmas mother and daughter combo. Karula seems to like showing herself for me more than the other guides, so I'm going to head into the last area where we had tracks of her. Oh wait, we are being very vibration. So, a big, very, very Merry Christmas to two very important people who make this possible. And believe it or not, the landowners of Djuma, Pippa and Yuri Moorman are sitting on the beach in Cape Town watching a live safari in their other backyard. So, a very Merry Christmas to Pippa, Yuri and the girls. And we hope to see you back at Djuma soon. And wonderful to hear that you guys are there behind us all the way. And in the meantime, we're going to go across to James and a giraffe.
Right, we're back up and running, everybody, and there is a beautiful giraffe, and behind her, of course, another giraffe, and the building storm coming from the west. It's really very special to see the clouds building like this in the Lowveld, and I hope that they dump a bit of rain on us today. It was predicted that they might. So two beautiful giraffe cows, and there's a bull coming in sneakily from the right-hand side. And this is quite common, where a bull will sort of attend to 2 or 3 females in a group, just seeing if either of them are in estrus and when they are going to come into estrus. And interestingly, of course, the best time of year for any kind of herbivore to be born is round about now, and the giraffe is the only ruminant that has a gestation period of over a year. So I suspect while he might be a little bit late, some of these giraffe may well be sort of coming into estrus or in estrus, and so that's why he'll be hanging around them. You can immediately see the difference in his head, that median horn or calcification of his skull compared with hers. And I don't know if you can tell, probably not from that angle, but he's much larger than she is. Let's see if you can tell from here. Oh, she's actually going over to him. That's not something you see very often with giraffe. Also, you can see the difference in the colour. And you'll go around, some people will tell you that the darker a giraffe is, the older it is. And that's often not the case. Just like us, blonde and brunette and red-headed giraffes, she almost looked like she sort of did a little walk by there, and as if to say, well, hi, how are you? And then she just sort of played a little bit hard to get. I have my hat back on because the sun has gone. By allowing us to get so close. The tongue on this cow here. She's a beautiful cow. She's the sort of I suppose she's a saucy redhead of the giraffe world. She's sort of strawberry coloured. Look at the markings under her eye. Isn't that pretty? G, you're on Twitter and you say you've heard that at midnight on the 25th of December, on Christmas Day, that animals are able to talk. And has this ever been confirmed? I've certainly never tried to talk to an animal at midnight on Christmas Day, so I couldn't confirm or deny it. I'd say from my biological training that it was highly unlikely. But who knows, unless you've tried to talk to a giraffe at 12 o'clock on Christmas Day, I don't suppose you could say yay or nay either way. So, Bob G, if you choose to believe that they can talk at 12 o'clock at night, so be it. I'm not going to try and test it because I'd hate for you to, I'd hate for that, your wonderful story to be broken. I've never heard that before, but I think it's quite wonderful. So if we get now, our light is a bit better from this side. So if we look at the bull now, you can see he's much darker. And you can see that calcification of the skull there in the front of his head. And that's from bashing his head against other bull giraffes. As I've said before, that happens to rugby players and American football players. Their skulls also become quite calcified from consistently bashing them into other bulls. Exactly the same thing. Now, yet again, I'm astonished by the... Sorry, I was briefly disturbed by a comment from Alyssa. Thank you, Alyssa. You say I look very dashing in my Christmas hat. That is very kind of you. This tree that they're eating is called a Dicrostacus bush, or I've forgotten the common name briefly. The sickle bush. There we go. Thank you for that, Andrew. Sickle bush, and vicious spines, and a spine is distinct from a thorn in that it isn't. It's actually a branch that's got a sharp end, as opposed to an appendage that doesn't sort of serve any purpose other than defense. And that's one of the big things with these trees, is that they've got all their branches, all their spines eventually become branches. And so it is really well defended. But again, giraffe have co-evolved with these trees, and so I'm sure while they do have to try and avoid being pricked and spiked all over the place, they have an amazing ability not to be affected by the thorns. And that goes for the monkeys who climb in these thorny trees. It goes for the elephants who will happily put the most thorny branches into their mouths. It just astounds me. James Bear, you've asked a very interesting question, completely unrelated to that giraffe or her tail, of course, but it is an interesting one. You want to know, because it's Christmas Day, what are the different traditions that we have in South Africa that you describe in the Western world have compared with the ones that we have here? James Bear, it's an interesting one because most of our traditions, of course, derive from European countries, especially with regards to Christmas and that sort of thing. And so it just really depends on your ancestry. A lot of the indigenous people of South Africa, so the indigenous cultures, the Zulus and the Shangans are the people around here, they wouldn't necessarily have a traditional Christmas culture other than that they've learned from the missionaries that came through here. They would have arrived here in the sort of mid-19th century. So those traditions have developed, and there is a Christmas tradition out here amongst the Shangaan people, and that's it's typically a family get-together, which it would be the same in the Western world, I suppose, and it would be a celebration, a big meal, that sort of thing. It would either happen yesterday, but most likely today. But there are lots of people in South Africa who don't necessarily have a family Christmas tradition. Then it depends the sort of the white population of South Africa, I suppose you'd say the city-dwelling white population, they would derive their traditions from whatever their ancestors are. So mine are particularly sort of a British ancestry, and so we'd have mince pies and a fruit cake and ham and turkey and that sort of thing. And then if you came, there are lots of sort of German South Africans, there are Dutch South Africans or Afrikaans South Africans, and they would have a different kind of tradition. So there is a whole lot of different traditions that people have out here, and so very difficult to say what the distinct differences is. The one distinct difference that we found out about this morning, of course, is that we don't have eggnog here, and I've yet to hear a convincing argument for why we should. I'm just going to drive a little bit further around the edge of this tree. Wonderful picture. Look at the big bull standing above the calf there. Almost protecting her. Oh, no, not protecting her at all. Let's just watch carefully how this unfolds. This is very interesting. Look at the size of him. He's probably 4 meters tall, 4.2 meters tall, multiplied by 3 or so, 15 feet tall. He's a big bull. And that's a little calf behind him. She's young. She's probably only about a year old, if that. But there's no question as to what his intentions are. He's making a move, as it were. That kind of, you saw him slightly rear up there. It's very odd. So D, yes, absolutely. That little giraffe there, the legs that you will see peeping out the bottom of the tree there are indeed from a young giraffe, definitely the calf of the big female there. So let's just drive around here and see what's going on. Just get a better view here. it over a termite mound. There you'll get a nice impression of the difference in size that they have. There's no question that that big bull is trying to mount the little one. He's kind of left her alone. Oh, that's interesting. Now, the cow is urinating straight in front of him. Now, that's a kind of indication of estrus, I would have thought. So maybe he's just a bit confused. He can smell an estrus female, and maybe he's just confusing one for the other. There, you saw that movement? That's a kind of precursor to mounting. Now, for her to be urinating like that straight in front of him, I think is probably intentional. And the pheromones that will tell him whether she's in estrus or not will be carried in her urine. I'm just going to sneak slightly forward again. So nice that they're in the open. Now, Gendre filmed some giraffe mating the other day, but from the drone. Fascinating to see. The fact that she's not moving away from him is interesting, because often, I mean, I've seen hundreds of times, I've seen male giraffes sort of chasing females for miles and miles and miles. Like this sort of thing, like what we're watching now. Get my red bespeckled head out of the way. Now, I don't want to disturb them. No, he's definitely having a check out. It's not often that we see this, you know. In fact, I think I've only ever seen it once before. I've only ever seen a giraffe mating once before. But you see, she's very wise to it, and only when she's absolutely ready will she allow him to mount. And the calf, of course, is probably just over a year old, which means it'll be 2 and a bit by the time a new baby is born, if this event does result in a pregnancy, and, you know, well on the way to independence. So the timing looks about right. Should we try and get around there, Andrew, or do you want to go the western side of it? Oh. Just quickly try and get the side there. Now, I think what was going on there, Laura Parker, you said that giraffe could be arrested for doing that sort of thing. Well, yes, but I think what's going on here is that he's picking up estrus. He's picking up some kind of estrus scent, obviously from the cow. And you saw her urinating almost on him as he approached. And I think he's just a little bit confused as to where that sort of scent is coming from. He's pretending he doesn't really care. He's just going to have a bit of bite of apple leaf to eat. James Bear, my pleasure for answering your Christmas traditions question. You say you can't think of a more compelling reason to drink eggnog. Somebody's going to have to send me a really compelling, really compelling recipe of eggnog before I'm prepared to try something that has its makeup is largely raw egg. Yes, and Marla Oppenheim, you're absolutely right. A little summer romance brewing here, a little holiday nookie, I think it was the term you used. Yeah, something like that. A holiday summer romance, the best kind of romance. So, William, on Twitter, you want to know how many times these giraffe will mate. William, probably only once, maybe twice, but it's certainly nothing like a sort of cat mating or anything like that. It will be a fairly swift affair, and the mounting will only last a couple of seconds. And certainly in the case of an impala or a springbok or something like that, the mounting literally takes less than half a second. Here they go, down towards the west, and again you can see the size of him. Look at him against that tree. Now, if I was to be standing there, I would come up to halfway. I mean, I'm not a large man, but halfway up to his shoulder, up to where his leg sort of meets his stomach there. He's enormous. And there they go off to the west. And just to reiterate, that little, the little one is a young cow. And we've watched her a few times, I think. So she almost sort of seemed like she was prepared to accept him, and then she sort of plays hard to get again. And while absolutely I'm kind of anthropomorphizing the situation, you know how often when you watch mammals in the state of courtship like these two very clearly are, look at the little one walking kind of to draw comfort from mum, it's so easy to anthropomorphize it because you can read what's going on. If you've had any experience of courtship yourself as a human being, you can read what's going on. You can see animals playing hard to get. You can see the males trying to kind of convince the females that they are exactly what's required, big and strong. They'll fight with each other. They will kind of show how their prowess. Oh, Brent is on fire this afternoon. He has just found the queen. Let's head across to him.
Brent, come in for Susie.
I think I should be okay.
So, it seems like Tebs is an absolute fire. He's just spotted Karula, and it's a mother-daughter combo for Christmas. Christmas cats by Tebs.
Brent, come in for Susie.
I've just got to be on the radio for a second, guys. Go ahead, Susie. Just keep coming down Philemon's Dip. You'll get us visual. We're on the road now. She is making her way towards the road at the moment. Okay, let's move around. Oh, hold on. Bumpity. And I would love to take credit for the spotting the second leopard, but it was Tebs again. So a mother-daughter combo for Christmas. Karula and Shadow. What a Christmas cat-a-day it's turning out to be. Sheila, thanks very much for watching. We couldn't think of a better way to spend our Christmas than sharing it with you. So welcome on the Sunset Safari, 2 leopards, and it's a Christmas cat day. And there we go. And what a fitting way on Christmas Eve We had the Queen of Juma, and now on Christmas Day, she's here again. She managed to avoid us on the sunrise safari, but fortunately, thanks to Teb's eagle eyes, and all he said to me is, I see a tail. And I said, what kind of tail do you see, Tebs? He said, a leopard tail. And after his spotting of Shadow today, I did not doubt him for a second. We have a very interesting question from Hannah in California while we try follow Karula deeper into the bush. Tana, not Hannah. And Tana would like to know, would Karula be waiting for another male to make its way into the area so she can choose the best looking, biggest, strongest, etc.? Tana, not. Leopard females have a very interesting sexual preference. If they were a girl, they would be called a bad word, very promiscuous. But there's very, very valid reason to this. So a female leopard, when she is in estrus, will mate with multiple males, up to 5 or 6 in certain circumstances. And that is any male that might possibly come into contact with her cubs once they are born. And basically she does that to convince all males that they might be the father. And she is see where she's off to. And how wonderful is this? The African sun is setting. It's Christmas Day, and we are sitting with the Queen, Queen Karula. There she is, just opposite us. She looks like she's walking with quite a bit of purpose to me. And she looks a lot fuller than when we saw her yesterday. And she was coming from where those elephant wallows we looked at earlier were. So what I am hoping is she's managed to make a Christmas kill. And we shall be seeing shortly if she has or if she hasn't. If you notice the way she's walking, she's not walking with the same purpose we see her walk with quite often. And her belly is definitely much fuller than it was yesterday. And that's not because she's pregnant. I think it's because she has caught something and she has had a meal in the between time. And the fact that she's walked off to where there's permanent water, watch out there, Tebs. And now she's walking back, means I'm checking every tree, or scrutinizing, should I say. Oh, there we go. There it is. There's the kill. So she has killed a steenbok. You see it there, Tebs?
Yep.
Up in the tree. And she's put it in actually one of James's favorite trees, a low-felt milkberry. So there's Karula and there's the steenbok. Sorry guys, I have turned my game drive radio off. I need to turn it on to update. Mike and Susie, if you come to my position, the spenne is up in the milkberry on top of the shidulu.
Yeah, we're going to put on for the kids. You carry on. Might come past a little bit later. Susie's going to be there with you.
Copy, thanks. Look at that. Isn't this the best way to spend Christmas? And I have a question from James. I cannot find leopards on Christmas Hendry, and he would like to know what our current location is. Our current location, we are to the north of Philemon's cut line, and probably due west of the large termite mound that is on Philemon's cut line, on the western edge of Philemon's cut line. And there we go, the Queen of Djuma on Christmas. Isn't this absolutely wonderful? So if we do have any new viewers out there, this is Karula. She is the dominant female leopard in this area. We have seen her daughter earlier today, who is 9 years old. She is about 11, turning 12 next year. And one of the most successful mother leopards in the area. And we're hoping she's got a good 2 or 3 litters left in her still. Karula means peaceful, even though she just snarled at us. So Jan in Los Angeles is wondering why leopards do not cover their feces like other cats. So Jan, a majority of your African cats do not cover their feces. It is very much a domestic cat attribute. Lion, leopard, serval, caracal, African wildcat do not cover their feces. It's because they have territories and they're mobile within those territories. Where there is a house cat, it's probably from being domesticated that the fact it does that, because it is staying in a very small area. So like a steenbok, like Karula has killed, they cover their feces, but they live in a tiny territory of about 4 acres, about 2 hectares. So they do cover their feces. And even animals, social predators that have dens, like wild dogs and hyenas, will never defecate around their den site. They always move a little distance away before they defecate. So the reason that they don't cover their feces is because they're constantly mobile and they have no reason to hide their feces because they are mobile constantly throughout an area. So it brings less chance of discovery from other predators. And for leopards, and in the Sabi Sands, and in particular in the northern Sabi Sands where we are situated, female leopard territories are generally over 1,000 hectares, so about 2,000 acres, which is quite different from the southern Sabi Sands, where I used to be. And that is all to do with prey availability. So in the southern Sabi Sands, where you have the Sand and Sabi rivers, where leopard territories are much smaller due to better habitat and higher impala and nyala bushbuck densities. Oh, look how flexible Madam Karula is. And if you notice, she is licking, but she's also biting slightly, and that is removing more than likely ticks and fleas. So even the Queen of Djuma is not immune to the bitings of different ectoparasites. And although a leopard looks like a wonderfully pristine, clean animal, I can guarantee you it's a very smelly, disgusting animal. If you actually have to touch that coat, you would be absolutely surprised at the amount of parasites that would try to climb onto your hands. I've been fortunate enough to be involved in quite a lot of different research with big cats and other predators, and leopards do definitely maintain an air of dignity with their looks, but they are definitely not cleanly animals, probably a little bit more cleanly than the others, and that's more from their looks than anything else. Sorry, just back to the territories. So the reason the leopard territories in the southern Sabi Sands or along the major rivers are much smaller is it is far better habitat for prey species, so impala, inyala, bushbuck and the likes. Therefore, in the southern Sabi Sands, your average female leopard territory on a river is about between 450 and 600 hectares, whereas up here in the north, where we don't have any permanent rivers, it's ranging from 1,200 to 2,000 hectares. So from 1,200 acres to 4,500 acres. So very interesting, and one thing we must always remember, that animal behavior is not animals specific, it's area specific. So lions here might not hunt elephants, but lions in Botswana might. And one thing, the most important thing to remember is we wrote the guidebooks. The animals didn't, so they absolutely do not give two hoots about what's been written in every single scientific journal, and they can prove you wrong on a daily basis. So Gail, who's a long-time viewer, says she's been watching Karula for 6 years and says she's starting to look older. And Gail, I guarantee if you watched me for 6 years, I would also start to look older. And Gail says she thinks she's noticing a dewlap developing on Karula. Is this true? Gail, I can't say for certain. I've only been watching Karula since February, so I'm definitely not the expert you are. But on older female leopards, the most distinguishing factor is their stomachs. They have a lot of loose skin that hangs about, and that's obviously they've had multiple birds, and that's more noticeable. For me, I don't think Karula's got a particularly large dewlap in comparison to other females, and we had a look at shadow earlier today, and I would say they're pretty much, as you would say in Swahili, kam kawaida, which means same. So, Gail, as I said, you've been watching her for a lot longer than I have, so I can't comment on the previous 5 years, but only this year, and I haven't noticed an increase in her dewlap so far. There we go. You can see she's getting right in between the toes, and that's the area where lots of ticks and other nasty little parasites would stay. And unlike lions, which are a social cat, Karula has no one else to help her remove such things. But fortunately, being a leopard, she's very, very flexible, so she's able to remove a few more of those than, say, a lion would without help. So she's lying below the kill, which means she's probably eaten quite a bit already. So very relaxed, happy. I'm probably very happy with this cloud bank and a bit of cool wind. And lucky for us, she'll probably be here on the sunrise safari. Well, a very Merry Christmas to Miss Lynn, who's on Twitter. Miss Lynn, I'm going to get to your question in a second. I'm just going to make some space so the other vehicle can come. No, they're going to leave, so it'd just be us here. So we have a Karula Christmas all to ourselves. Miss Lynn would like to know whether leopard's fur is smooth or rough. Well, it's far more coarse than a domestic cat's fur, but that area she's licking at the moment, the soft underbelly, is quite fluffy, but still quite coarse. Well, she looks like she gave me the evil eye for calling her fluffy. I love it when they do that. Even though she knows the killer's in the tree, she always glances up to check that it's still there. And that's a very, very leopard thing to do. And it's probably just in case a sneaky vulture or battalier managed to grab hold of her nyama. And nyama, and Tevz is going to show you her nyama now.
That will tear the shit out of you very fast. Oh.
So, nyama means meat in multiple different African languages, and it is actually probably one of the most universal of African words. And whether you are speaking Zulu, Xhosa, Ndebele, Tswana, Sotho, Swahili, Bemba, Nyanja, Miene, Fang, and I'm running out, but I know a few more, Angoni, etc., all the way throughout Africa, nyama is nyama. Meat is meat. And it's probably a very important thing with a lot of migratory movements between people, that there's certain words that always sound very similar or are exactly the same. And meat is one of them, and the other is water. So if you were a traveler traveling to an area where people could not speak your language, you would know how to ask for food and water. Karula obviously catches her own food and water and does not need to be provided with any. There she's de-fleeing or de-ticking herself again. Well, good call on Twitter says apparently leopard coats are soft, according to Cleopatra, who had a pet leopard named Arrow. Well, Cleopatra made some bad decisions in life, including Mark Antony, so I'm not quite sure having a pet leopard was also a good decision. But yes, softer than a lion, but still far more coarse than a domestic cat. So Mars in Tucson is worried that Tingana, one of the dominant male leopards in this area, might be sterile because he has mated with both Karula and Shadow, and we don't have cubs yet. Guys, we must remember that not every copulation will invoke pregnancy, and it's it's a funny one. I'm quite sure Tingana is not sterile. He has sired cubs elsewhere before. And he's possibly Sindile, who's in quarantine's father as well. But again, we can't know for sure. And not only are these female leopards mating with Tingana, they're mating with Mvula, they're mating with Anderson, they're mating with that skittish male from the north, and they're probably mating with another two males we don't even know about. But as with lions, it's not every copulation or every mating that begets cubs. So we have to be a bit patient and just let nature take its course. But isn't this wonderful? Christmas and two leopards on the sunset safari. So Heidi in Switzerland is wondering whether the leopards also change their fur for the cold winter time. I think there will be a slight thickening in the fur, but nothing too drastic. You remember the coldest we get in our cold winter, I think the coldest we reached, and I'm afraid I don't know it in Fahrenheit offhand, but I will check, was about 4 degrees Celsius, which according to my very smart app, because my maths is horrific, 4 degrees Celsius is 39.2 degrees Fahrenheit. And that was possibly for less than 25 minutes when we started the safari. And by the middle of the day, it easily gets into the high 20s, close to 30 Fahrenheit, which is 30 Celsius, which is 86 Fahrenheit. So there's a slight thickening, and if anything, the winter is more comfortable for cats like leopards, and they're able to move longer during the day and during the night because it is not so hot. So one of the things that limits the large feline predators in Africa is their inability to deal with heat. And that is an evolutionary trait to help them not compete with us. So they evolved to avoid the heat of the day, and if their core body temperature raises by less than 3 degrees, they will actually die. So the winter months, they are able to be mobile for longer. And one must also remember the days are shorter and the nights are longer. So there's a lot more cool time than there is in the summer, where the days are long and very, very warm. Sorry guys, I've had my game drive radio off again. I just need to turn it on in case anyone else wants to come here. So just give me 2 seconds. Station, sorry, we are busy broadcasting, so my radio is down. But if anyone would like to make their way towards Karula, they're more than welcome. There's only one station here, space for 2.
Brady, can you give me an exact look of where that bump is? I'd like to follow up in the morning.
Sorry guys, I'll be back with you in a second. Okay, to the north of Philemon's cut line, just to the west of the large Lulu and Mkombe Machimba spot, I will drop a branch when I leave. And we also will be following up in the morning, so one of us will be in the sighting to guide you in.
100%, sounds good, thanks very much.
Sorry about that, guys, but finding animals and keeping track of animals is a team game. So we like to keep everyone informed, and apologies, I have to be on the radio again. Turning it down a little bit. Now, can you imagine all this chatter is normally in our ear? So it doesn't look like she's thinking about heading up to the tree to feed anytime soon. It is still quite warm, and she's probably eaten. We're going to move around. Let's see how much of that little steenbokkie she has eaten. Or not. Unfortunately, we're not moving at the moment. So let's quickly pop across to James with a very, very long animal.
So we went to check the hyena den. There are no hyenas in attendance. They're offered a Christmas lunch at a different clan's territory, clearly, probably on Arathusa. And then we did a little check for the wild dogs to see if they'd come across, but no tracks of them. So we've come back to this very interesting giraffe situation that we have here. And the little one is quite inquisitive, totally relaxed around us, and just walking towards where the adults are now. And still this sort of game of cat and mouse persists, where she looks vaguely interested, and if he then starts feeding for too long, she kind of walks up to him and feeds in front of him for a while, and then as he shows any interest, she walks off to another bush, and then he follows, and she pretends not to be interested. It's all quite fascinating. And the little one is left as a bit of a gooseberry on the outside of the situation. Very quiet day. It was a quiet morning bird-wise. It's a quiet evening as well. I'm sure that's got to do with the weather. As I suspected, these clouds have dissipated. You can see straight over the top through his ossicones there into the blue heavens. There's no cloud behind him now. There's a little bit off to the west, but certainly I don't believe it's going to rain tonight. Beautiful sighting this is. So often giraffe are in quite thick bush, we won't get to view them like this. It surprised me too much if that male was in fact the father of the little one. They're not territorial at all, but I mean they do hang around and within a certain area. Look at the size difference. Isn't that amazing? Now that little one is probably, I'd say that little one's almost 10 feet tall. So it gives you an idea of how enormous the adult bull is. And different colours. That's a little report from Gracie, aged 8. Hello, Gracie. It seems that Santa visited you. I'm very glad Santa visited you. You got a safari Barbie with a pink Jeep and a tent. It's marvellous. And lots of animal books, which apparently your mum made a few donations in your name, probably to animal organisations, I assume is what you mean. Wonderful stuff, Gracie. Happy Christmas to you too. I hope it's a wonderful one, and I'm so glad that your efforts to leave out a cookie and some milk for Santa bore you fruits, and you've now got some wonderful gifts to see you through till whenever your birthday is. I think it's somewhere around September, if I'm not mistaken. Andrew, will you just point the camera over there and look, everybody? Here comes the beautiful full moon, the Christmas full moon. Can you see it, Andrew? It's there between the trees. You see it?
Oh, yes.
Oh, there we go. Look at that. Isn't that lovely? Such a subtle, beautiful pink colour. I think that's very special indeed. A perfect Christmas pink moon. Just like Safari Barbie's Jeep. Possibly not quite as pink. That is a wonderful shot. Well done, Andrew. Very artistic. So the giraffe are still playing their little game of... I don't know what to describe it as, really. The male, to me, looks basically confused. He doesn't really know how to deal with this difficult situation of this recalcitrant cow who will not do what he wants her to do. And so now he's trying to look cool and not worry too much about the situation. But actually, he is worried about the situation. It's eating him up inside. A beautiful breeze blowing. Thank you very much, Martha, for your kind comments and your thanks for bringing you the show today on Christmas Day and for sharing our passion for the African wild with you. Well, Martha, of course, it's our absolute pleasure, but it wouldn't be possible, of course, if there weren't so many very passionate people around the world who loved seeing Africa and its beautiful wilderness areas. So thank you very much to you and everybody for your comments and questions throughout the year. And we're going to leave you now. We're going to hand you back to Brent. Big thanks to, and happy Christmas, of course, to Andrew. Thank you, Andrew. Big thanks and a happy Christmas to Louise, flying solo, and to Brent Leo Smith, the inimitable leopard finder with Tebbs, who I believe spotted Shadow from nowhere. So that's brilliant stuff. All that remains is for me to say to you the best Christmas I hope you have for the rest of the day. I'm sure some parts of the world it's Boxing Day already, but in the States I know it's still Christmas Day. Have a wonderful time wherever you are, and I hope you're very safe and happy with your families and friends. We will see you tomorrow at 0500 for the Dawn Safari. Bye-bye, and see you then.
So hasn't this been an incredible sunset Christmas safari? We're sitting here with the Queen, Karula. She has turned her back to us, but we moved around this side to look at her kill, and we will show that to you in a few moments. But it looks like she possibly ate 3 baby impala last night before she killed the Steenbok, because it has barely been fed on. So there's almost 100% chance unless the wind blows and the hyenas steal, that she will be here for the sunrise safari. And I intend to be right here to follow up. Well, Tristan has decided to put me on the spot, literally, for Christmas. Tristan is Anne's young grandson, and Tristan would like to know, how many spots does a leopard have? Tristan, I'm going to ask your gran to take a screenshot and you can count them and tell me. So a leopard has only true spots on its belly and on its extremities. The rest of them are what we call rosettes. It's a slightly different shape, and I'm sure Tebs will zoom in to show you. So it is more round with a slightly different color in the middle, and that's what a leopard has, rosettes. It does have proper spots around its neck and on its tummy and on its legs. But Tristan, I think each individual leopard has a different number of spots, and I've never tried to count them all, and if you're feeling brave, maybe you should. The problem is with an animal that moves as much as a leopard, like you can see Karula doing at the moment, it's near impossible to get an exact number of spots. But if you take some screenshots, you can probably count them. There's a nice project for you. And I look forward to hearing back from you, Tristan, on how many spots Karula's got. We are sitting with our fingers crossed that just before the end of the Christmas sunset safari, Madam Karula will grace us with a bit of a tree climb, and we shall see shortly whether she's going to. I think she is. She's going to spoil us rotten for Christmas, so we get a Christmas present from Karula. So we're just going to watch. I think she's about to leap into the bowels of this low-felt milkberry. Come on, Queenie. There we go. And this tree's got such a nice bend, she probably doesn't have to leap. She's probably just going to stroll up the main stem. Oh, a little leap at least. And to her kill. I did not see whether it was a male or female steenbok, but it looks like she's about to begin her Christmas dinner. So Karula has stolen the show yet again, and a big thanks to everyone, James, Andrew, Louise in Final Control, and especially to Tebs, who is the leopard spotting king of Christmas. And don't forget, we will be right here on tomorrow's sunrise safari, following up on the Queen of Djuma to see how much of the steenbok she could have eaten in a night. I'm hoping not too much. She had a bit of a full belly, so I'm hoping she'll be here for at least a day or two. From myself and Tebs, see you tomorrow morning. Don't forget to join us for Safari Live.